Torrenting can be risky, but it can be pretty easy to mitigate or even eliminate some of those risks. So I thought I'd make a really quick video on how to do just that. For a client, I recommend using Torrent. It's free and open source. Open source means that its code is publicly available online for people like you or myself to go and look at. We can read through the code and make sure there's no spyware or malware in there. And people do this regularly and religiously. Torrent, unlike a ton of other torrents, doesn't actually have any of that crap. So I recommend going to their site, www.qubittorrent.org, and downloading it. For Windows and Mac, it's going to be self-explanatory. For Linux, you'll just use the terminal. And once you've downloaded it, you're going to head to your client, and there's a few settings that we need to change before you actually download any files using it. You're going to hit this gear icon here. You're going to head to BitTorrent, and you're going to scroll down to seeding limits. You're going to want to check when ratio reaches and when total seeding time reaches, and you're going to change both of these to 0. If you're unfamiliar with how torrenting works, instead of downloading files from just one server, you're downloading files from a ton of different people. It's like a network of crowdsourcing in a sense. So a ton of people like you or me are hosting these files. It might be a game, it might be a movie, it might be whatever. And people can download parts of those files. However, once you've downloaded a part of a file, you can then automatically upload, and that's what seeding is. We want to make sure that we're not uploading any files that might be illegal or nefarious, because uploading those files can get us in a lot of trouble. Oftentimes downloading or pirating software or movies or whatever you're doing is significantly less illegal or less punished than distributing these files. So oftentimes if you pirate something, worst case scenario, you get a letter in the mail from your service provider who tells you stop doing this. But if you distribute these files, you can get a knock on the door by a lawyer or something, and you're in deep shit. So we want to change these to 0 to make sure we're not distributing anything. Next, we want to go to advanced, and it's really important that while we're torrenting, we're using a VPN. And this is because we are connecting to people like you or me. We're connecting to random people. We're connecting to their computers. And in that process, they see our internet address, our IP address, right? So we want to make sure that they aren't seeing our true IP address. We want to hide that using a VPN. But there's also a second reason we want to use a VPN, and that's to hide our internet traffic from our internet service provider. So if you're in Australia like me, you might be with Telstra or Optus, but if you're overseas, you might be with Vodafone or something like that, right? They can see everything that you do on your network, but using a VPN encrypts that. So whenever they look at what you're doing, it's just in some random language that they can't understand. So it's important you use a VPN that can actually support torrenting. On Proton VPN, they illustrate that with these arrows going in a square-like shape. So I'll just go ahead and connect there to my VPN. And on Windows or on Linux, it's very simple. You want to just go to Network Interface, select this, and you should see Proton 0, or if you're using Nord, it might be Nord 0, or whatever VPN service you're using. It's usually well labeled. On Mac, however, it's not. Mac's just like that sometimes. So you're going to want to open up Terminal. I'm going to be using Ghosty, however, so you would just use the standard terminal like this, but I'm just going to go ahead and use Ghosty. Then what you're going to do is you're going to type in ifconfig, and it's going to spew a ton of these network interfaces. I'm going to be blacking mine out for privacy purposes, and you'll see here that they are numbered. Now, if I disconnect from my VPN and I run ifconfig again, you'll notice that there is now a network interface missing. You can do this the other way around. You can run ifconfig, then connect to your VPN, and then run ifconfig again, and you'll see that there is a network interface that disappears or reappears whenever you're connected, and that's the one that's responsible for your VPN. So you're going to want to identify what that is and then put that into the network interface box. Now that can update, so if you ever find that you're trying to torrent something and it says stalled or it's not downloading, then just run that process again of VPN on, ifconfig, VPN off, ifconfig, and then find the network interface and just update that in your settings. But it's really important that you have got your seeding limits off, you're not seeding at all, and you're using a VPN whenever you're torrenting. Now there can be some extra steps to avoid risks when torrenting. It's important to make sure that you're getting these torrents from reliable and trustworthy sources. I'm not necessarily going to tell you how to do that, but if you're downloading torrents from movie files or like movie websites or something like that, usually you'll be able to filter by amount of downloads. And typically, if you just go for the torrent that's got the most amount of downloads, you can pretty easily check the comments to see if anybody's reported there being a virus or malware in there, right? Now, something else that you can do is you can open up hybrid analysis, which is a virus analysis software. You can upload your files here and it'll check to see if there's any viruses, malware, or anything like that in your software. So you can always use the malware checker that's installed on your system as well. Like if you're on Windows, that would be Windows Defender. So there's a few ways that you can check, and you can also check the checksums as well, which basically verifies that the file that was intended to be distributed is the file that you've actually ended up getting, to make sure that there was no man-in-the-middle attack to intercept your file and change the file that you're receiving. Although that's incredibly rare, it's not something that you really have to worry about in 99.99999% of cases. And so for the most part, this is how you can seriously mitigate and even eliminate most of the risks associated with torrenting.